Let us start. So here we are going to discuss about how to install the Ubuntu server on a AWS infrastructure. So we need to have an AWS account. In the AWS account, we are going to create a server. Okay, sign into the console. Now this is my AWS account. Inside this account, I am going to create a Ubuntu server. So let us see how we can create that. For creating any instances, we need to have a VPC. Inside the VPC, we are going to create a EC2 mission. This is the basics that you need to understand. Okay. So what I am going to do here is I will go to the instances and launch the instance. Here I am going to deploy a server. So what is that server? Docker_server. This is the name of the server. And in which operating system I want to install on the Ubuntu operating system. So Ubuntu server I will be selecting, and T2 micro is more than enough, and key pair will be AWS common key pair. And in any VPC you can deploy this. Okay. So I'm going to deploy in a particular VPC which is having the public accessibility. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is let me launch the instance. So a Ubuntu server has been deployed. Once the Ubuntu server is deployed, then what we are going to do here is I want to install, or else I want to run Docker on this Ubuntu server. Okay, to create the containers, to create any application related containers, first of all, we need to have a Docker engine. Without Docker engine, as I already said you that in the previous session only, I clearly explained you that there will be the hardware. On the physical server, we will be having a hypervisor. On the hypervisor, we have installed this Linux virtual machine. This Docker_server is a virtual machine. And inside this virtual machines, we are going to run some container. We are going to some container engine like Docker or else any another container deep, any engine. And on that, we are going to install the containers, or else on that we are going to run the containers. Now see here, let us log in into this server. When we log in into this server, now if you see here, sudo, we are going into the root user. Okay, sudo su hyphen, in the sense we are getting the root user privileges. Now if I run this, it is going to throw an error. Okay, NetTools should be installed. So now what I am going to do here is apt update -y. As it is a Ubuntu server, you need to go for apt command. If it is a Red Hat Linux or else Amazon Linux, then you need to go for the yum command, yum. Okay, so and apt install -y net-tools. Why I am installing, I will tell you this later, but as of now I am installing the NetTools. Once I have installed this NetTools, I can run ifconfig command. Ifconfig command in Linux will help you to find out the IP address of your server. So ifconfig command in Linux will help you to identify the IP addresses and the network adapters of your server. Here you can see when I run the command ifconfig, you can look out that there are two adapters. One is the Ethernet 0 adapter. This is the adapter which will be providing the IP addresses for your server. Okay, and this is the loopback adapter. Actually, loopback adapters are mainly helpful for you for testing purpose. So now if you can see here, we have installed a server. Try to understand this point. We just installed a server, and in this server, what we are having a network adapter. So this network adapter is responsible for receiving the external traffic and sending the internal traffic to the external external internet. Okay, so here we are having a adapter. So what is the IP address of this adapter? Now when you see here, we are having two types of IPs. The private IP address of this adapter is 10.1.1.185. So this is the IP address of this particular adapter. Okay, this is the private IP. And if you can see the public IP address of this adapter, what is the public IP? This is the public IP address of the adapter. Okay, we will discuss about why I am pretty much why I am stressing on this IP address. You will come to know about this. Okay, especially why I am stressing on the network. You will come to know about this in the sessions, in the upcoming sessions. But as of now, we have this server. So what is the server? This is our docker underscore server. Okay. After that, here you can see now we have the server, and in that server we did not install the Docker. Okay. Now what we can do here is you can go to Google, install Docker on Ubuntu 22.04. Here you can see if you go to the any version here, you can simply say that they will ask you to run certain commands. So if you go into the official Docker page also, you have to run certain commands. Okay, so here you can clearly understand step by step sudo apt update. After that, you need to run this apt install transport -https CA certificates, and then you need to add GPG key. So like that, a step by step order is there, which is so all the steps you have to run. Okay, so to escape these processes, what we are going to do here is here you will be having a script get.docker.com. If you execute this, see here, it is also saying the same. To install this, first of all, you need to run this script, and then you need to install the certification path, and you will be getting the Docker itself. Okay. So simply what I am going to do here is I will run this script. Okay. So when I go back to my server, curl, excuse me, curl -s capital L, give the script over there, get.docker.com. When you run this, if you see here in Linux mission curl -sl, when you give this command, automatically it is going to get all the data. So if you see here, whatever the data that is available on the script, that will be executed over here, or not executed, that will be shown over here. Whatever the commands are there, that will be shown here. Now what we are going to do here is whatever the commands that are there in the script that we need to execute. For that, I can give the command called as bash. So right now, if you can see, we don't have any Docker info. If I give this, we don't have Docker, or else Docker PS. There is no Docker. So now simply what I am going to do here is I am going to execute this. When I give this command bash, it is going to install the Docker on my Ubuntu server. Okay. So once it is installed, we will have the Docker on our server. Now the next thing what you need to understand here is what is the architecture of this Docker architecture, how we are going to run the containers. So to run any containers, the point is how we are going to run the container. To run any container, what we need to have? Run container on Docker. So to run the container, we need to have the images. What are these images? Images are the what I can say read-only commands that are executed, and with the help of those images, we are going to create the containers. You will come to know about the detailed about the images in the next upcoming classes, how to create the images, how many ways we can create the images. But as of now, so containers are created with the help of the images. Try to understand this. What are the images? Docker images. So from where we are going to get these Docker images. So you need to understand the concept. Hold on. So here we are going to implement the Docker images. So how we are going to implement the Docker images and all the things you will come to know right now. So first of all, what we are going to do here is, okay. So try to understand the first one, Docker, whether the Docker is installed. Here you can see Docker PS. When I execute this command here, you can clearly see this. So Docker is installed, or else simply I can go for Docker info. If I give this command, so it is going to give me the output as, so what is the Docker server version that is installed on your server? Here you can clearly see this. The version is 24.02, and here it is going to provide each and every concept. Now, what is my condition here? So first of all, Docker is installed. That's good. Now, installing Docker is not sufficient. So to run the applications, you need to understand the architecture. So what is the architecture? So whenever we give any commands, So how many ways we can provide the commands in Docker? We can provide the commands in 2 ways. So this is in the CLI format from the client end. From the client end, how we are going to provide the commands, not only commands, how we are going to interact with the Docker engine. So we are going to interact with the Docker engine in 2 ways from the client end. So that is with the help of CLI. Okay, that is with the help of CLI command line. Now, right now we are accessing that only. So we are going to provide some commands. Okay, or else we can go with the API also. So as it is a Ubuntu server and it is having only core mode or else command line mode, then we cannot use the API. But yes, of course, in whenever you are accessing the Ubuntu desktop or else if you are accessing Windows desktop, then you are having this Docker API. So I will show you that. Hold on. Here, yeah, Docker desktop. If you open this API, from this API also you can interact with your Docker engine. But right now, what we are going to do, we are going to communicate with the CLI only. Or else, if at all, if you want to access through the Windows, you can go with the API also. Okay, API. Okay, and the next one here is what we are going to do after doing this. Now, client will give a command docker run, or else if you want to run any container or you want to create any container, this client mission should communicate with the Docker engine. So whatever that is installed, whatever the Docker engine installed on your server or else on your computer, so through the command line or through the API, it will be communicating with this Docker engine. So when we are communicating with this Docker engine, so there might be 3 requests. One is for pulling the images, and the other one is to creating the containers, and the third one will be somewhere like deleting. There are so many options. So this Docker daemon, whatever the Docker daemon or Docker engine you are looking here, this Docker daemon is primarily responsible for executing all the commands. So whenever we have given a command, so the command will be passed to the Docker engine. And after this, the Docker engine, if at all, if you want to create any images, there will be an images section here where you will have all the images. Okay. So these images are helpful for you to run the containers. Okay. So within the Docker, so this is the local image repository inside the local server, inside our server, whatever the local images are there, those will be present in the local image repository. So here we are going to have the images. Okay, these are all the Docker images that we are having. And now what Docker is going to do, Docker is going to collect the images from this image repository. And with the help of those images, it is going to create the containers. Okay, so here you will be having a next section called as containers. With the help of these images, it is going to create the containers. If at all, if the images are not available, then Docker engine sends a request to the Docker registry on the internet, which is an open source registry. It is going to send a request to the Docker registry called as Docker Hub. So inside the Docker Hub, we will find out all type of images. So if the images are not available inside the local repository, now Docker engine will send a request to the Docker Hub. Inside the Docker Hub, we will be having multiple containers. Okay, so here multiple images will be available on the Docker Hub. From the Docker Hub, this engine is going to pull out all the images and whatever the required images are there. And by pulling out those images, it is going to store on your local repository, and it is going to create by pulling out the Docker images, it is going to store on your local repository. It is going to create the containers from those images. This is what happens in the backend. Okay, so this is your Docker architecture. To explain you more clearly, hold on. There is a diagram, or else there is a picture over here. Come on. Yeah. So this is the Docker architecture. Okay, so let me. this picture will give you a clear clarity about how this will be working. So first of all, what is going to happen when the client wants to run any container? So green color dots are represent the running the container. When client wants to run any container, the request will be sent to the Docker daemon. Okay, Docker daemon in the sense Docker engine. So the Docker engine will communicate with the images. And if the images are there, if the images are found, it is going to create the container. If the images are not there, then it will send a request to the registry or else Docker Hub. From the Docker Hub, it is going to pull the images, and from the images, it is going to create the containers. So this is your Docker architecture. So how this Docker will be working. Now, if at all, if you don't have the images on the Docker Hub also, you can create your customized images also with the help of build command, Docker build images command or else Docker build command. With the help of build command, you can create the images, your own customized images also. How we are going to create this, what are the instructions that we have to follow for creating an images, that you will learn in the upcoming classes. But as of now, what we are going to do, first of all, when the user requests any container or else when the user requests to run any application, then the user will run the command, and this command will hit the Docker daemon, and from the Docker daemon, the request will be sent to the Docker images. If the images are found, then it is going to create the container. If the images doesn't found, then it is going to send a request to the Docker registry. This is what happens in the backend. So overall, this is about your architecture. When you're coming back to the next concept here, so the point is how Docker manages all the things, how containers will communicate with the external network. So here we'll be having a Docker. If at all, if you give this command Docker PS, sorry. Okay, Docker PS. If you see here, you are seeing the container ID. So what I am saying, actually containers are the processes. In the starting class, in the previous class, I stated that containers are the processes that are running on your computer, that is running on your server. So now here you can see, actually in Linux, when you give the PS command, if you give the PS command, the meaning is you want to know what are the processes that are running in the backend. Okay, so it is going to display the processes. In the same manner, here we are trying to get the containers. So what I am saying, containers are nothing but the processes. When we give the command Docker PS, that means that we want to fetch the containers. So here it is showing that container ID, no containers are there. If at all containers are there, it is going to display the container ID, through which image the container is created, and what is the command that is executed on the container. Whenever you are running the container, why you will run the container, the first and foremost thing that you need to understand here is, what is the necessity of running the container? The necessity of running the container is that you need to run some applications. So if at all, if you want to run any Python application, then what you will do, Python space app.py. That is the command that you are going to run a Python application. If you want to run any Nginx server, what you will do, systemctl start Nginx. So that is the command that you will execute to continuously run those applications. So Python space app.py or else any application.py, if you give that, the meaning is that that application has to continuously run. In the same manner here, the command will state that what is the final command of that container, what is the motto of that container, what is the prospect of that container, why we are running that container. So that command will be shown in this command section. And next one, created, and what is the status, whether the container is running or else whether the container is stopped or so here you are having container lifecycle. So in container lifecycle, you are having 7 stages. You will learn about all the stages in the next classes, but this is the basic class I am telling you. And the next one here, you can see ports. So exposed ports. What is this exposed ports? So that you will understand whenever we create the Docker images. So at the time of Docker image creation, we are having a command called as, or else instruction called as expose. There you will understand what are these ports and so everything. And the next one here is names. What is the name of the container? So this is about your Docker PS command. When you run the Docker PS command, it is going to give the complete list of your containers and container IDs and through which images that is created, every minor detail about your containers. And the next one here is Docker images. If you run this command, if you run the Docker image command, so what I said you, inside the Docker engine, we will have some images. Inside the Docker engine, we will have some images. So those images, what is the name of the image? And for an image, we need to provide a tag. If we don't provide the tag, automatically Docker will assign a tag called as latest. Okay, so that is called as that will be there inside this tag. And here you can see image ID. So when the image is created, for that image, you will have an ID. And the next one is created time and size. What is the size of that image? So if you run the Docker images command, it is going to display all these things. So these are the basic commands that you need to understand. The first one is Docker PS and the second one is Docker images. Docker PS will say about the containers. So as per this diagram, when you run the Docker PS, so it is going to describe about the containers. So this is the container area. So it is going to describe about these containers. And when you run the Docker images command, it is going to display about the Docker images. So these are the two things that you need to understand. And the next one, what you need to understand here is, see here, previously, how many network adapter we used to have whenever we install the Ubuntu server, or else when we are trying to run the Ubuntu server, we have only 2 network adapters. So what are those? One is ETH0 and the other one is loopback adapter. Mute yourself. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one question is like that. So when you run the Docker PS, that means it is showing the number of containers running in your server, right? So container is basically a executable file or something we can say it, right?
Yes, it's an executing process.
Executing process. That means images are running on the container. Am I right?
Yeah, of course. Images are the read-only containers. Okay,
Images or
actually,
read-only containers.
okay, so those are created with the help of a set of commands. Okay, you can come to know about this concept whenever we run into the concept of Docker images.
Okay, and now the Docker image we are doing, that means we are just putting the list command on our local server where it is listing the number of image present in the local server, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this is about your images. Whenever we are listing Docker images, that is what I said to you. So whenever you run the Docker images or Docker PS, those are going to represent the total number of containers and images that are present on your local server. Okay. So when we coming back to the next one here, whenever at the starting stage of your, whenever we create the server, when we create the server, so that server is having 2 types of adapters. One is ETH0 and the next one is loopback adapter. So this ETH0, whatever the Ethernet 0, that is going to represent our private IP address of our server, private IP address of the server. So by using NATing and all the things, it is going to convert. We will be having a public IP also for the server. Don't get confused about what type of IP address we will have. You will have the private IP to communicate with internet. You need to have the public IP. Okay. So whether it is a private IP or public IP, so don't worry about that. So public IP is helpful for you to communicate with the internet. Without public IP, we cannot communicate with the internet. And internal communication within the servers that are created in a network, if you want to communicate, then we need to have the private IP address. So private IP should be there, and as well as public IP is also there for the servers. Okay. So now when we coming back to this Ethernet 0 will represent the IP addresses of our server, especially the private IP. Now, when we install the Docker, on the server, here you can clearly see this. If you can see, if config, mute yourself. If config, here you can see a new adapter has been created, Docker 0. So Docker 0 adapter is created. So which means that, so with these 2 adapters, when we install the Docker, another adapter is going to be created, that is Docker 0 adapter. So when Docker 0 adapter is created, that is helpful for the communication between the containers. This is the default adapter. So here, if you want to check out the network of your Docker network, so the command that we need to give here is Docker net, mute yourself. Again, this time I am not going to say. Docker network ls. When we give this command, it is going to display the total number of networks that are available on our server, no, or else on our Docker. So here you can see here bridge adapter. So what is the meaning of this? Here you can see at the starting stages, we have an adapter. This is the host adapter, which is connected to our server. This is the host adapter, and you will have a null adapter or loopback adapter, which will be helpful for the testing purpose. And when we install the Docker, automatically, when we install the Docker, a bridge adapter will be connected, or else a bridge adapter is going to be created. What is the main functionality of this bridge adapter? Whatever the containers that are created on your Docker engine, if the containers has to communicate with the public, or else with the containers wants to communicate with the internet, if they want to have the internet access, then, so for example, I am going to create some 3 containers, 3 or 4 containers. Now all these containers will be connected to this bridge adapter. All these containers are going to connect to this bridge adapter. Now, when these containers are connected to the bridge adapter, so this bridge adapter will have the connection towards your host adapter. So the bridge adapter will connect to your host adapter, and this host adapter will be in connection with the internet. So whatever the data that wants from the server that required by your container, so this container will send a request to the bridge adapter, or else this container will send that, for example, I want to communicate with google.com, or else the container needs to communicate with google.com. So what we are going to do, ping www.google.com, then automatically the request will be forwarded to the bridge adapter, and from the bridge adapter it will be sent to the host adapter, and from the host it will be sent into the internet. So it is very important to have a bridge adapter. Now we can create our own customized bridge adapter also. We can create our own customized bridge adapter also. How to create that and what about the network configuration, that we will see in the next class. So this is a small demo that I want to give on the Docker. So here you will be having container 1, container 2, and container 3. If you want to create 3 containers, you can create the 3 containers like this. Okay, so then they will be communicating with the bridge adapter, and from the bridge adapter they will communicate with the internet. Now let me check out that. So when you see here, so Docker network, or else what I can do here is, let me, network inspect. So which type of adapter it is? It's a bridge adapter. Simply I will give the name of that adapter. So the name is bridge. So when you see here, Docker network ls, when you give this command, Docker network ls, here you can see what is the name. Here you are having the name. So the name is bridge adapter, or else it's a bridge, and it's a driver. What is the driver identification? The driver is identified as a bridge driver, host driver, and null. And we are having some more drivers like overlay network drivers that you will understand when we go for the Docker swarm. But as of now, try to understand, we need to provide Docker. If you want to know the IP address, Docker network inspect bridge. So when you give this command, automatically it is going to provide you the complete details about your bridge adapter. So it is going to show you the what is the IP address range of your bridge adapter. Whenever you create Docker in your server also, when you create the Docker on your server also, it is going to show you the same range of IP address, 172.17.0.0 only. Okay, so the default bridge adapter IP is 172.17 only. The network is 172.17 network only. You will have the adapter. Okay, so once if you want to change the, if you want to create your own network adapter, you can create that. Why we need to create that you will understand in the next class. But as of now, let us do one thing. Let us create create a container. First of all, we will create a container so that you can have a clear-cut understanding about what is the command for creating that container. So actually, whenever we go for the Docker lifecycle, there I will explain you about the Docker create command. But right now, what we are going to do here is, we are going to run the container, Docker run. So which means that, so when we give this Docker run command, automatically a container will be created and it will be started. So it will be in the running state only. Whenever the container is created, automatically the container will be in the running state. The application will be started. So now here you can see Docker run. So which means that the Docker container should be started, created and started. -rm. The meaning of this is -rm in the sense, whenever we give a command called as Docker stop. So here to stop the container, what we need to give? We need to give a command called as Docker stop command. So the container will be stopped. Whenever we go for the container lifecycle, definitely I will explain you about these conditions. Like we are having somewhere like Docker create, Docker start, Docker run, Docker pause, Docker unpause, Docker stop, Docker under, what I can say, Docker remove, Docker kill. These are the life cycles that we need. This is the actual life cycle of your Docker containers. So you will have the clear-cut understanding about that. But as of now, try to understand here. So whenever we give -rm, the meaning is that when we stop the container will not only stop, but also gets removed from your Docker engine. So container will be created. When we give the run command, container will be created and started. Now, if at all, if we provide -rm, the meaning is that when we stop the container not only stops, but also removed from your Docker engine. That is the meaning of -rm. Next one is -i, which means interactive. The container should be in the interactive mode. Okay, the user can interact with the container. And a new terminal. T means terminal. A terminal should be created. And D means detached. So if at all, if we don't give the D over here, if I don't give D, then container will be created and user will be inside the container. Whatever the commands that the user is trying to give, all the commands will be inside the container only. So right now, what is my requirement? The container should be created, but it should not be attached, or else it should not be in the complete interactive mode. So when the container is created, that should be detached from the user communication. So it should be running in the backend. So if I provide this D command, the container will be created and that will be running in the background. Okay, user can interact with that container at any time. Try to understand this. So container will be created, and when you give the D means that will be detached from the user interaction, but the container will be running in the background. If the user wants to interact with that container, he can go for Docker exec command, which means Docker execute command. I will show you that. So as of now, I'm providing like this. And what is the name of the container that you want to give? -name. -name. The name is simply, I will go for container1. As you can see in this diagram, what we have provided, container1. And later on, what I can do here is, so if you want to publish, you will come to know about this ports, but as of now, I just want to run the container. So if I provide this Nginx latest, what is this Nginx latest? Nginx latest is the image which is going to be helpful for creating this container, whatever the container that we are running. So this container will be running with the help of Nginx latest image. Sir, we are totally confused. We did not understand this. Let me give you a simple synonym like this. For example, if you want to run a computer, if you want to install, or else there is a computer for you. Try to understand this. There is a computer for you. So if you want to install any software, any application, then what is required for you? Directly, you can install the software on the computer. Directly, can you install the software on the computer? So we need to have the operating system. So what we are going to do, so how operating system will be available? We are going to get the operating system in many ways. One is through the CDs, DVDs, pen drives, or else in the hard disk, we will have the operating system. So that this computer will be, so the operating system will be installed on the computer. On that, we are going to run the application. In the same manner, here, when you see here, whenever we are providing this, or else whenever we are creating this container, what is the container that I am creating? I am going to create a container with the name container1. And what is the image that I am going to use? Nginx latest. So this container, so as like your computer, how operating system will be installed inside your computer, in the same manner, These images are the applications. You will have a clear-cut definition for the images in the next class. So as these are the demos, I am going with the basic concepts only. When we go in depth into the concepts, then you will understand clearly what is an image. So right now, Nginx latest, I want to create this container with this Nginx latest image. Now the point is, do we have the Nginx latest image? Here you can see Docker Docker images. So we don't have the Nginx latest image on my repository. So what I need to do, look at this. So when I run this command, or else if you don't give the Nginx this latest tag, then automatically what Docker is going to do, I did not provide any tag here, right? Then what Docker is do, Docker will attach its own tag called as latest. Okay, it is going to think that the user want the latest Nginx image. So if I don't provide any tag, it is going to check out whether the image is available on the local repository. So here in the local repository, the image is not available. When the image is not available on the local repository, then Docker is going to fetch out the image from the Docker hub. Look at this. See that what it is saying, unable to find the image, Nginx latest. Here you can see it is saying that Nginx latest. Did I give the tag called as latest? I did not provide. Automatically, Docker has added this tag. If you don't provide the tag at the end of the image, then the Docker will understand that, okay, so the user the user doesn't provide the any tag. So automatically I need to add a tag called as latest. It is going to add that, and it is going to search in the local repository. But the image is not on the local repository. Where the image is in the Docker hub. So it is going to pull the image from the Docker hub. So here you can see pull completed. So once the pull is completed, then the image will be available on your local repository. Here you can see Docker images. Look at that. Now the image is available on the local repository. The meaning is that from this image, it is going to create a container. So Docker PS. If I give this, see that container is created and the name of the container is container1 and the image is from the Nginx. From Nginx, we got this container. So this is how a container will be created in your Docker engine. Okay. So if you want to get inside of that container, you can get inside of the container. But one thing that you need to understand here is on which network. Here I said what I said here. Whenever the container is created, this container will be connected to this bridge adapter. So if the container has to communicate with this bridge adapter, this is like a gateway. Here you need to understand it is like a gateway. So it is an entry and exit point of your containers data. If any data that has to enter into your container, or else if any data that has to go outside of your containers, then this bridge adapter will be acting like a gateway. So what you need to understand here is whenever we are having a computer or server in our home or else in our office, if you want to communicate, what you will do, you will be connected to the router. So if at all, if you are a networking guy, you will clearly understand this. So you will be connecting to the router. So this is your gateway. So through this gateway only, the data will be going outside and coming into your office. In the same manner, here also the containers and bridge adapter will be acting like a gateway. So what is going to happen? So this bridge adapter will have an IP address. So what is the IP address? The range of IP address is 172.17 and the adapter IP is 0.1. This is the IP address of your adapter. 172.17 0.1 is the IP address of your adapter. And the container that you have created here, it will have the IP as 172.17 0.2. This is the IP address of your container. So clearly you can see here. So what is the name of the container? Docker PS. The name of the container is container1. So I just want to inspect Docker network, inspect, what I can say, what is the name of the network? That is bridge network. So when I give like bridge, here you can see that what I have said you. So the bridge adapter will be there and the gateway IP address is 172.17 0.1. And what I have said, so whatever the container that you have created, the container will have the IP address of the range 172.17 0.2. So you got the IP address so that the container will communicate with your bridge adapter. And from the bridge adapter, the data, whatever the data that you want, you can get the data from the internet. Now, if I want to access that container, if I want to run some commands on the containers, or else if I want to log in into the container, then what is the command that I need to use here is docker exec-it, so that I can communicate, I can interact with the container. So what is the container name? Container1. If you give the command as bash, look at there. Previously, we used to have the host name as 10.1.1.85. Now we are having 9b88. This is the container ID. So now we are inside the container. So whenever we are inside the container, if you can go for if config. Okay, so if config command is not there. So basic commands are also not available inside a container. Why? Because whatever the image that you have pulled, so to come out of the container, so right now we are in the container. How we can come out of the container? Simply you can use exit command, or else you can go for control PQ. So if you press the buttons control PQ, you will be coming out of the container. Now, if you can see here, Docker images. Look at there. What is the size of this image? The size of the image is only 187 MB, which is very less. Do we have any operating system with 178 MB? So this image is having the size of 187 MB. The meaning is that except operating system, we don't have any another applications running on that particular command. Except operating system and Nginx, we don't have any applications that are running on that particular command. Okay, so this is about your concept, guys. Ishwar, I know that you are trying to tell me all the concept, but first try to listen, and after that you can message me. And so I have got so many messages. I will respond to the mini server over OS. This is my first class. What is image? Okay, everybody don't know what is an image. This is also for everyone. This is the first class only. So don't worry about that. You will come to know. Okay, so but as of now, I will clearly explain you about the images in the next upcoming classes. We have a particular documentation for the images also. Don't worry. Hold on. Just wait. Just focus on what we are going to do. So this is the basic classes. Try to understand how Docker will react for the commands. Once you understand that, and later on we can understand what is meant by an image. So try to imagine that we are having an image. This image will be helpful for creating the container. Now, what is an image? What is a container? You will come to know about that when we go in depth into the Docker concept. Up to then, hold your nerves. I know that you are very anxious. Okay, I also know that the persons who are very anxious and very whoever are asking the questions, the questionnaire will be only for 2 to 3 days. After 2-3 days, nobody will ask me the question. I will continuously repeat the sentence like, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Nobody will respond to that. At least on the messages, on the chat box also, nobody will respond. So whatever the anxious or else ambiguity you are having, try to keep, okay, try to hold your nerve. We will learn about all this concept when we go into the in-depth analysis of Docker. So the Docker will be going on for a week. Okay, so in this week, you will come to know about what is an image, what is container, what is Docker Swarm, what is Docker Compose, how we are going to create the Compose, and do we have any live projects? Sorry, we don't have any live projects. If you are expecting a project, then this is not the class for you. Okay, sorry for that. But what I want to say you here is whatever you are going to learn in the Docker, whatever you are going to learn in these sessions, I will promise you that these sessions will be very helpful for you to crack the interview. I can give you the assurance also. Okay, so that is what I want to say. So please hold your nerve. When we coming back to this, yeah, where are we? So if you can see here, the size of the image is 187 MB only. The size of the image is 187, which means that we will be having only operating system. We don't have any another, what I can say, any another applications that are running on your container. So let me log in back into the container again. When I log in back to the container, here what I can do here is apt update -y. I'm going to update this. and I am going to install some applications. Apt install -y, unzip net -tools, and you don't have the ping utility also. So when you go for ping google.com, look at this. It is not going to provide any response. Ping is also not available. So what I have to do, apt install -y, apt install -y, ip utils -ping. So when you give this command, now ping is available for you. Ping google dot come on .com. So look at that. So we are getting the response from the Google. So which means that ping is also available. Now, as we have installed all the applications, whatever the application that we require, like NetTools, Unzip, if you want to install JQ also, you will install all those also. apt install -y JQ. Okay, so JQ is also installed. Now, this is the container. From this container, we can generate an image. So images are the read-only templates for your containers. Okay. So when we go back here, simply Docker commit. I want to create an image. How I can create the image? Simply Docker commit. So what is the Docker container? We are having container 1. This is the container. I want to convert this container as a basic image. Basic Docker image. This is the name of the image. If you don't provide the tag, it is going to allocate a latest tag, but I am going to provide the tag as version 1. When I provide that, here you can see Docker images. Look at that. Basic Docker image. Just now we have created with the version tag as version 1. And from how we have created that, we have created the image depending on your Docker container. By using your Docker container, we have created this image. What is the size of the image? The size of the image is 210 MB. Previously, you are having 187 MB. Now the size has been increased. Why? Because the applications are installed on your Docker container. So that is the reason the size of the image has been increased. So this is about your Docker images, containers, and network. So tomorrow we will have a very in-depth analysis of the Docker network and how we can create our own customized network or external network, and what are the benefits of creating that network. You will understand all those concepts in the next class. Am I clear with this? Any questions?
Yes, Chaithanya. Actually, I just want to know what kind of the basic application we have to install while after creating the container. Like what kind of the package would be required?
No package. That depends upon your project requirement. How can I say that? If at all, if you want to run the Java, so you need to run some Java commands on the container. If you want to run some Java application, or else if you want to run some Python application, you want to run some Python commands. So that totally, what is your question here? Now, what you want to ask me? Can you repeat the question again, please? I did not understand that, first of all.
No, yeah, I'm getting. Actually, I just want to know, after creating the container,
after creating the container means what you want to do with the container. First of all, what is the main working function of the container? Can you please explain me that?
Container is a basic function. It's it will work as the application interface.
Okay, then why we need to have the container? That is the question here.
Yeah, container is need here because we have to run the multiple application at the multiple
right. So you want to run the applications, we want the containers. How we can run that applications? After installing the containers, we don't need to enter into the container. So at the time of creating the container, we are providing the images, right? Why we are providing these images? Can you tell me? The images will have the pre-configured applications inside them. So you don't need to, whenever you are creating the images itself, you are going to run the commands, whatever the applications that you want, you will be running those applications in those images. And with that help of images, when you run the containers, for example, let me show you one thing. So Docker run --- rm or else docker run. Let me give like this: docker run hyphen hyphen rm hyphen itd hyphen hyphen name container 2 hyphen p. You will come to know about what is p. 8000:80 Nginx latest. If I give this command, a container will be created with the name container2. Container will be created with the name container2, right? So
Right.
whenever I run this, copy this public DNS, you will come to know about all those concepts later on, but as of now, I will provide the port number as 8000. So here you can see you got the welcome to Nginx. So it is responding with a web page. How it is responding? Did I log in into that computer? Sorry, did I log in into that container and did I install any application on that? Are you able to understand? I am not in, I did not install the application. I did not install Nginx, but why it is showing that? Because this image will have the list of applications, list of commands that are executed. And this image is nothing but the Docker images or the applications or the commands that are run. So these images will have all the commands that are executed. If you want to run a Python application, so then what you are going to do? You are going to write a Python application and you will create an image with that application. You will come to know about these images. So here the point is the containers, we don't need to log in into the container and we don't need to run the application. So when at the time of giving this image only, those applications will be run on the images. So when you run the containers with the help of those images, the containers will automatically run that application. Okay. Are you able to understand what I'm saying here?
Yes.
Yeah.
We to given the reference of the images and we can run this container.
Obviously. So the reference point is your images. Without images, we cannot create the containers, and without images, the applications will not be running. So first of all, the point that you need to understand here is images will have all the application related commands and as well as the applications. You will come to know about that whenever we are going in depth into the Docker images concept. There is a concept called as Docker file. So where you are going to create the image with the help of Docker file, how you are going to create that image. So with the help of Docker file, what we are going to run, everything you will understand that. But please hold on for a while. Okay.
Okay. So
yeah. Any another questions? So at a time today is the basic session. So these sessions, I cannot say all the concepts of images, containers. I cannot say that. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Apart from this, any another questions?
Yeah, so yesterday you shown one document regarding to the containers and all that things, right? Could you please share with could you share this?
That is a basic thing. Docker, sorry, what exactly is a container? So I will share you the URL. You can check out that.
Yeah, please.
Read escape sequence is not a command. When we exit out of the container with the help of control PQ, then it is going to show you that read escape sequence.
You have not pasted, sir. Sorry.
I gave you. Oh, it is a direct message. Hold on. Look at that. I gave you.
Thank you. Yep, got it.
And Chaithanya, one more thing. Actually, I am familiar with the Linux environment. So do we have any separate kind of the installation related to the Linux?
No, we don't require any installation.
So we can use it.
Simple. Yeah, you can directly install the Docker on the Linux. You can use that. So what I have done in the Ubuntu, just I run the get.docker.com and I have installed the Docker. That's it.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Any another questions, guys? See, I know this is a little bit confusing for you. What is this? See, right now you are in a new environment. So now whatever, I don't know how you have worked, but as of now you are in a new environment. Whenever you are in the new environment, it will take some time to understand this, but we need to go slowly. Okay. So here I am trying to explain you about what is a container and how containers are created and what will be there inside the container. But still we did not get completely into the concept. So slowly we will get into that. Once these demo sessions, as per you, these are the demo sessions. As per my point of view, these are the normal sessions. The first 3 sessions are, as per your point of view, those are the demo sessions. But my perspective is that we are into the Docker itself. So if at all, if I have to take the demo session, then what is the necessity for taking these classes now? Docker, what is Docker? Simply I can repeat the SLS class, right? So that is not the thing. Here, as per my perspective, these are the normal classes which we are going into that.
So
Okay.
how many classes will be in the demo?
3 classes. Tomorrow will be the last one.
Oh.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Good morning, sir. Naveen here.
Hi.
Hello, sir. Good morning, Naveen here.
Naveen, tell me. Yeah.
Sir, how many projects we going to learn, sir, after the completion of this course, sir?
Don't expect the projects from my end.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Sir, how come to know how can you implement in the Docker files like in the project, sir? Like how we able to create the container like that, sir, in the project, sir?
If you understand the basics and if you understand the core concept of Docker, you yourself can create the project. So there is no necessity of going for, I have to show you a project, or else I will tell you about a simple project. Okay. Whenever we are going for the Docker Compose and all the things to make you understand how to work with the Docker Compose, I will tell you about that project. But every time it is not like this. So some companies may require a huge amount of, like, see, we need to have some Redis containers. We need to run some Postgres SQL, or else we need to run some MongoDB, MariaDB. That dependencies will be there. So how to create the containers with a Docker file, every core concept you will understand. Okay. So if you understand the core concept, you can implement your projects on that. So please try to understand. If I take a single project, let us suppose I took a simple project. There we are using Python. Okay, that project is having Python. Only I will tell you about the Python. That's more than enough for you. This project doesn't require to expose some ports. The project doesn't require to run certain commands. The project doesn't require what is an entry point. If it is going like that, then what is the benefit that you are going to get? If I tell you on a single project. So here you need to learn the core concept. Once you learn the core concept, you can apply that core concept on any project. So to create a Docker file, you don't need to, so again, you don't need to fetch out some past videos and do that. If you have the core concept, then you can run up. So what you will say for example, if somebody gave you, if I say the project on Python, so you have to run Python app.py. This is the command that you have to execute, and I executed that on the Docker file. Okay. You got a Java project, for example. In Java, you need to run a different command. Okay. So what you will say? My faculty said only Python app.py. I'll run only that. No, right? So you have to understand the basic concept. What is the main functionality of those instructions? So if at all, if I am working with a single instruction, what happens? But of course, I am not saying that I am not going to show you a real-time project. I can show you a real-time in the sense, again, it's a small project. So just a basic project I am going to show you. Okay, how we are going to work with the Docker Compose. So once you will get a clear-cut understanding about that, you will work with your own projects. Okay. I can give you that assurance. You don't need to worry about your projects and all the things. Once you have the hands-on experience with the Docker and Kubernetes classes, I can give you an assurance that without involvement of the third person, you can run your own projects. You don't need to worry about the conditions. Okay, I can give you that assurance.
Okay, sir, fine. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Santosh, this side.
Yeah, Santosh.
Okay,
yeah, I can.
So, can we expect something about on this Docker and from you that how the organization or how the company use this Docker or little bit inside of the organization, like the complexity of the project, how we can fix those things?
That is what I am trying to say.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it, guys. Okay. Yeah. Any further? So,
am I audible?
Yeah. Who is this?
Bharat here.
Yeah, Bharat.
Hey, today I just joined. I missed it yesterday.
Okay, no problem.
Quick thing. I mean, what did you cover yesterday?
I just gave you a brief introduction about the Docker. What is Docker? You have that class recording on the YouTube also. You can check out that. But anyways, I just covered what is Docker, why we need to move from the physical environment to the Docker containers. That is what I have covered in the last class.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Yes.
my first class. You started explaining all those commands. I'm really confused.
Okay.
Without knowing Docker and images concept.
See,
I'm
I
confused.
am not completely explaining, or else I am not into the Docker right now. Okay, first things first. I am not got completely into the Docker, but I just gave the basic commands after installing Docker, how we can install the Docker and how we can run the commands. That's it. So if you understand the architecture, when I said you the architecture, when you understand that architecture, you will understand why we are providing this command. So when we execute this command, what happens in the behind? If you clearly understand the architecture, you don't get any confusion on that. Okay. So this is what I can give you the advice. So I hope you are understandable. You are capable of understanding these points. And tomorrow we are going to discuss about the Docker networking concepts, and we will be going with some CLI commands. Okay. So that's it for today. Have a nice day, and we'll meet in the next session. And there are some candidates who are sorry to read out your names, but yes. I got this Ishwar. It is when they are trying to when Durgasoft is trying to call, your number is invalid. Try to check out that. Sorry for checking out this. Okay. And the next one is Gaurav Kumar is there, Raghav, or else Aditya Kumar or Vinod Kumar. Who else is there? So please leave the call. Nikhil. Okay, please leave the call. Mayank. Okay, so when Durgasoft is trying to call you, we are unable to reach. Okay, so please, that's it. Have a nice day and bye.